Today, I'm going to bring you 5 different integrated bracelet watches from affordable to ultra luxury. One for each person out there in the watch world if you're looking at one of these watches. Now, at the very end of the video, I'm going to give you a preview of a titanium integrated watch that nobody's talking about, that's affordable, that I think beats out almost every watch on this list. Now in this video, it's just an overall of each watch. I have done in-depth reviews of each one of these watches, so for each section of the watch overview of each watch, I will leave a card for the actual in-depth review of that video. These are gonna range from about $100 all the way up to $8,000 if you were to buy it brand new. So let's hop right into this video. And starting us out at $110 is the Casio MTP. This specifically is the one with the sunburst blue dial. It is a quartz watch, but that second hand hits that chapter ring almost perfectly every single time. It is possibly a luck of the draw that I got one that does that, but mine does. Again, sunburst blue dial. It has a mineral crystal on the outside, so not really that durable, but it does its job at just over $100. This thing, 35 millimeters, again, doesn't fit overly large because the lug to lug on this is 40 and the thickness is 7.5, so a relatively thin watch. It does have an integrated like bracelet design. These are rolled links, 5-link design, looks great. It is brushed with a high polished case. Not sure how I feel about that, but there is brushing along the top. So it has a high polished bezel, it has brushing along the top, high polished around the sides on this stainless steel case, rolled stainless steel links down to, of course, that classic Casio pressed clasp. Is this worth $110? Not really sure. If you like the integrated bracelet design, this thing I think is more worth around $60 than it is $110, but if you don't have a whole bunch of money and you want something that slips underneath the cuff quite nicely at 7.5 millimeters thick, this is for you. And on the wrist, you can see that the 35 millimeter actually fits more like a 37 or a 38 millimeter. So it's not overly large, it's not overly small. Now this is by far one of my favorite watches, coming in on an AliExpress special at $250. This is the IXDAO Engineer. This is an homage to the IWC Engineer, and it looks nearly the same. One of the things I do love about this Engineer from IXDAO is the fact that they don't have IXDAO underneath the 12. They simply have their logo, which is beautiful, which is elegant. Engineer just above the 6. Batons all the way around. The texture of the dial is done perfectly. I really do love this watch, and they offer a lot of bang for buck. It does have a sapphire crystal along the top. The brushing and the case finishing is quite beautiful. It does have multi-layers, so it's brushed with chamfered edges along the bezel, then chamfered edges around the case, brushed into a true integrated solid link bracelet with, again, chamfered edges along the side of the center links there too. This is an H-style link into a butterfly clasp. I think that this thing is done quite nicely. The only time you see IXDAO is right there on the bracelet. Other than that, you don't see it at all. Now this watch comes in at 40 millimeters in diameter. It comes in at 10.9 millimeters thick. This is a watch back by Chase Straps, my own watch strap company, to help it fit a little bit better. You know, the integrated bracelets sometimes either fit too tight, either fit too loose. So I created these foam watch backs, link down below, to help it fit on the wrist a little bit more nicely. Now this is offered in 3 different movements, so the price may change depending on the movements. The one I have is the PT 5000, which is a high beat movement, but it's also offered in the Sellita SW200 movement and the ETA 2824. You can see that it does have a date window at the 3 o'clock, and you can see that the date wheel matches the dial absolutely perfectly. It's very hard to find another watch this good for $250. Again, on AliExpress, this is one of my favorite watches. This thing does have an overall lug to lug of 45.5, so it's not overly big. And here's the watch on my 7¼ inch wrist. You can see that this thing hits all of the check marks, all of the points. Love the way this thing fits. It fits perfectly, especially with that watch back by Chase Straps. This thing fits perfectly. Very, very comfortable on the wrist. Next on the list, and one that does not need any introduction, is the Citizen Soyosa. Now, I chose the gold and stainless steel because nobody else was doing it. Everybody did the same colors over and over again, the pastel colors, and I just wanted to do something different. I didn't have a watch that had really any gold in it, so I got this one instead. Now the Citizen Soyosa, like I said, needs no introduction. It's been around the internet like a $2 hooker, and now I am showing you. Now I do have another Citizen, again, that I'll show you at the very end, that I think is far better than this, that nobody ever really talks about. Anyway, the Citizen Soyosa. This thing comes in at 40 millimeters in diameter. It is 12 millimeters thick. It has an overall lug to lug. Now, instead of just the case shape, you have to look at the bracelet size, how it's going to fit the wrist. This is 50 millimeters, so it is going to fit a little large. Sapphire crystal, a solid stainless steel case, beautiful finishing, high polished with brushed finishing. The brushed finishing on this is done very, very, very well. Comes into that true integrated bracelet. It does have a beautiful rolled link design, extremely comfortable. Love the gold in the center down to, sadly, the Citizen pressed clasp. This thing would be an absolute perfect powerhouse, and there's a reason why everybody loves this watch. It would be a powerhouse if they just did a milled clasp. It does have a proper cyclops just above the 3. Looks great. The crown at the 4 o'clock position, like every single one. And overall, this thing looks great. It does have a Miyota 8210, 21 joule, 21,600 vibrations an hour. Automatic movement. The Miyota is a workhorse movement. It's going to last you for years and years and years to come. This thing on Amazon comes in at about $270. So it is just slightly more expensive than the IXDAO, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I've seen this Citizen so much that I just am not in love with it like the IXDAO. I think that they've done just a little bit more here, but the Citizen is a hot contender. If you want a true integrated watch, one with a name that has history back behind it like Citizen. And on the wrist, you can see that it does wear slightly large with that 50 millimeter footprint, but dang, that bracelet just looks beautiful. The bracelet to me is what really puts this apart for a lot of these integrated watches, because the rolled links are just done so nice and so perfectly. Sadly, into a Citizen press clasp. Everybody loves the Soyosa for a reason. Right now, it's the small seconds they love, but at the very end, when I show you the other Citizen, you're going to love that one even more. And the first Swiss piece on this list, an introduction to the Swiss luxury watch market, is of course the Tissot PRX Powermatic 80. This is sort of like the Citizen Soyosa in the fact that this thing has been around the internet more than your mother has. And there really is a reason why it has a beautiful waffle dial. This is an automatic movement with great finishing, of course, from a very well-known Swiss watch company as Tissot. High polished bezel, beautiful brush finishing, chamfered edges on this. The case is done perfectly with the brushing going down into this beautiful integrated bracelet that just plays in the light down to a butterfly clasp, which is kind of what you have to do on an integrated bracelet. This is not the only one you've seen it on. It's not the last one you're going to see it on either. But in the back, you can see that it does have an in-house caliber 8.111. This is, of course, based on an ETA movement. That being said, they've done something different with this watch, and the fact that they deregulated it. They took a 4 hertz, 28,800 vibration an hour movement and moved it down to a 3 hertz, 21,600 vibrations an hour, and allowed this thing to have a power reserve of 80 hours, which is a lot. That's almost 6 days worth of power reserve. So if this thing is fully wound, it will sit on your desk for at least 5.5 days before you have to wind it again. Now it is slightly larger. This thing is 40 millimeters in diameter, only 11 millimeters thick, but the lug width here has a footprint of 52 millimeters. So this is the largest one on the wrist. It does play beautiful in the light as you move your wrist. Tissot is a watch brand that everybody knows as an introductory to the luxury watch market, which is okay. It is a true powerhouse in the things that they offer, sort of like Hamilton. Trust me, really great piece. It's gonna look great in a suit. It's also gonna look great in shorts and a t-shirt. They do offer other straps for this. They do offer a leather strap and a rubber strap, but it has to be their strap because of the integrated bracelet design. Really, really good. 550 bucks. Not the last one on the list, still one more. Now I love my Cartier Santos. I ordered this watch for my wedding. That being said, I could not wear it because I just had that honeymoon phase. I still do have the honeymoon phase. I love this watch almost more than anything. I had to stop wearing it because, like everybody knows with the high polished bezel, this thing becomes a scratch magnet from hell. And in fact, I was looking at getting another bezel to replace it because I've worked on watches before, just so I can have that high polished, scratch-free look for my wedding. That being said, this is my Cartier Santos. This is 40 millimeters in diameter, 9 millimeters thick. Of course, I have a watch back from Chase straps on this because, like anything else, this does have a butterfly clasp on it, so it never fits quite perfectly like every integrated bracelet out there. It doesn't fit quite right. There's no micro adjustments really, but there is something cool about this watch that really comes down to the innovation of the high-end luxury watches that I wish other people would do. And for me, that is going to be the Smart Link bracelet on this. Now, I'll get to that in just a second. This is the blue dial. A lot of people go with the white dial, and I understand why. Because the white dial Cartier Santos or Cartier, anything with a white dial, just screams class. It screams classy, and it screams timeless. You can see it does have the Roman numerals around the outside, the date just above the 9. This thing has an in-house caliber 1847, beating at 28,800 vibrations an hour. Just a beautiful, beautiful watch. Now, I chose the blue dial because it's different. Nobody else has it. This is a very rugged industrial design. This thing can be seen from across the room. Screw your Submariner. This thing is half the cost of a Rolex Submariner, and the Rolex Submariner will disappear on your wrist and nobody will even notice. That being said, this will be noticed from across the room. Now, what do I like about the Smart Link system on this? Well, the pure fact that I can take a simple push and I can pull off the case. Then I can come in here, and right here you can see there are these little buttons that are almost invisible. And a simple press, and you can see right there that the push pin pops out and I can take off the links on the fly. I'm sorry, to me, that's just badass. And that is true engineering. Now, a lot of the Cartiers, to include mine, came with a leather strap with the same Smart Link system. Now, one of the reasons I don't like the Smart Link, but it's similar to all the rest of these, is the fact that I have to have a Smart Link bracelet or a Smart Link strap So this is a true integrated bracelet design. On the wrist, it's really hard to deny the classiness of the Cartier, especially the Santos de Cartier or the Cartier Santos. This thing, again, is less than 10 millimeters thick, and you can see that curved case just rolls right onto my wrist. It just fits perfect. Everything about this watch is done to a very, very high degree. The only thing I don't like is the fact that it scratches so dang easily. So it just looks cheaper than I think it should. This I picked up used for $6,000 from Del Rey Watch. Normally comes in at just under $9,000. Again, I wouldn't spend anything brand new on any luxury watch unless it's a Rolex, only because it retains its value a little bit more. Everything else, buy on the secondary market or buy on the gray market, because you're gonna find a really, really great deal. And like I promised at the very end, a quick look at this brand new Citizen titanium that I just got in. I didn't want to add this to the integrated watch video because I didn't have enough time to really get my hands on with this thing before. I mean, this thing just came in yesterday. Beautiful textured dial, beautiful. I don't care what anybody says about the Citizen Soyosa small seconds with their textured dial. This thing is done very, very, very nicely. This thing is a full titanium watch. Yes, it does have Citizen's press clasp. Of course it does. But this thing is a very, very lightweight, very well finished with a sapphire crystal, small second automatic titanium watch with a beautiful, beautiful textured dial. We're going to get the macro shots done on this. This review is going to come out in just a couple weeks, so stay tuned, guys. Now, what do you guys think about the video from $110 Casio all the way up to just under a $9,000 Santos de Cartier in the blue dial? There's a watch on this list for everybody at every single price point. Now, the Citizen that I'm going to release, the titanium right here, I am super pumped about this watch. The texture of the dial is absolutely beautiful, and I cannot wait to do the macro photography of this watch right here. I think this watch beats out the Citizen Soyosa small seconds, and when we get into the macros, you'll understand why. I may do a second video with this watch in it if you think it's worth it, and if you have any other watches that have integrated bracelets that you think I should have added onto this list, leave it down in the comments and I'll do a second video in the future. Anyway, I have a lot of videos coming up in the future. I'm Chase. This is All Things Random, mostly watch reviews with some random stuff sprinkled in between. I have a wedding coming up in 3 weeks. I'm trying to get everything pre-planned and pre-scheduled so you guys have content all the way through July 1st when I will return in the state of Alaska. Now, if you do want to follow what I'm doing, I do have an Instagram at all_things_random_AK. I'll leave it down below. Follow me over there if you're interested in what I'm doing on the day-to-day. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one.